Hello, hello! Welcome to Editor's Note, Apira Worldbuilding Edition. This is my series where I can share and develop my current stories. I have a lot of ideas, characters, and stories rolling around in my head, and this is the way I can share it with the world prior to, hopefully, publication. For some context, Editor's Note is the title of the series, with whatever follows being the story I'm working on. In this case, I've recently overhauled a lot of my stories to exist within this one world, Apira. This episode does not focus on a single story, but rather the world in which most/all of my stories will take place. Apira is the fantasy world I've created. Please keep in mind that this is a work in progress, so things will always be subject to change. If you're familiar with ABDILLUSTRATES here on YouTube, I'll link his channel in the description. I love his content. Then this series is similar to his series, Concept Corner. Additionally, if you're familiar with his series, I have also chosen to include a disclaimer at the beginning of this episode. It reads, "This episode of Editor's Note is about an unpublished story that is currently a work in progress. I intend to share it one day in its entirety, however far one day may be. In order for me to be able to continue this series and continue sharing concepts and stories, people need to respect that these are my stories to tell in their entirety when I am ready. That being said, the answer to, can I use these characters and eggs, and can I write this story? The answer will always be no. However, fan art, fanfics, theories, etc. inspired by what I share in these videos are more than welcome. Just please give proper credit and tag me at Akitsu, specifically on Instagram, so I can see them. Thank you. I won't read the disclaimer in every episode, but it will be at the beginning of every one from here on out. On to Apira. So what you saw was me writing down the list of ideas I have on a Google Doc onto a sticky note for easy reference. I drew this map in a really fancy looking notebook, so I don't really want to draw on it until I know what the layout is. So that's what this video is. I made 6 copies of the map and will be mapping out the regions. At the top you'll see me making tally marks, and that's just to make sure I include all of the regions. You can also see on the left that I have the original map I drew when I first made Apira and a list of my original ideas. Keep in mind, map is no longer accurate. The new map will be the one that's on the piece of paper, with the layout subject to change if I see fit. So we'll call this draft 1. But with the creation of Apira, I really wanted to make a world that wasn't just a standard fantasy world, if that makes sense. I wanted to incorporate various cultures into my world, so after making a huge list of ideas, I mostly settled on the following. Flying Kingdom. Name to be determined. A region denoted by the floating, isolated island which supports a group of winged people. This region is inspired by Japan. Taigen. A region denoted by cold, mountainous landscapes that's cold all year round, which supports a logging industry. This region is inspired by Nordic countries. Chegari, a region oozing with gears and general steampunk-inspired buildings. This region is inspired by London/England cities. Naeda, a region that exists in both water and on land, a place for amphibian-like people. The land version of Naeda is inspired by the Philippines, while the underwater version is to be determined. Ledo, a region known for marble and bronze architecture and statues, as well as its winding waterways. This region is inspired by ancient Greece/Rome and modern-day Venice. Caves. Name to be determined. A region located in the mountains between Taigen and Ledo, full of winding tunnels. This region does not have an inspiration yet. Hapet, or Hapfet? I'm not actually sure how you pronounce half of these words. I just say them in my head, or skip over them, as one does when reading complex books. But a region that is incredibly hot and known for its volcanoes. This region does not have a real-world location for inspiration yet, but it is mostly inspired by what people kind of imagine demons to look like. Think red and black color scheme. But quick note/disclaimer, this region is not evil by nature. Like any region, it may have bad people within it, but it's not meant to be an evil group of people. In the story, these people will not be called demons, but for visualization purposes, for now, that is what I refer to them as. Lamela, a region known for its deathly forest that surrounds the civilization of fairies and pixies. This region is inspired by Korok Forest from Breath of the Wild/Tears of the Kingdom specifically, Pixie Hollow, and General Whimsy. I've yet to decide on a real-world inspiration, but it is possible. Egypt's inspired. Name to be determined. A region of mostly sand and oases where the black sands of Hapet gradient into the beige sand. This region is, lo and behold, inspired by Egypt. South America. Also named to be determined. A colorful region located in the rainforest of Apira. This region is based on Colombia and Brazil. Futuristic. Name to be determined. A region known for its evolutions and technology that showcase a lot of cyberpunk-esque buildings, and aesthetics. This region is inspired by Switzerland and Sweden. And then space. This is just my fantastical interpretation of space. And then the following regions have not been developed other than a vague idea, so please keep that in mind. Africa inspired by some region of Africa yet to be determined. And then Aztec and Inca will potentially be combined with the South America region. If I remember correctly, I think there were a lot of feathers, and that's what I wanted to take inspiration from. And then, as a general disclaimer, my goal with these regions is to create a world inspired by these different regions and cultures rather than defaulting to what I'm already familiar with, / what is well known. And I do not plan to create a one-to-one copy of these places, but only use them as inspiration. I still plan on doing a lot of the world building on my own. With all these regions listed, as you can see, I have a lot of ideas for different regions, and that list is subject to grow at any moment. However, for world building purposes, these are the regions I've decided to go with for now, and they are the regions I am mapping in the video. In terms of land formations, I haven't thought of much, but with a general outline of what I want each region to be, I found it easier to begin placing the regions on the map. It is a bit difficult because I made this map in the notebook a while ago, so I can't really make any changes to the shape of it. I can only add onto it. And while I'm not going for complete realism with this map, I still want rivers and weather to at least make some sense. So for my final draft 1 of the map, Flying Kingdom is a floating island. That will never change. Taigan will be the northmost region at the top of the map. It is also the largest. Moving down, we have the cave region between Taigan and Ledo. Ledo is south of Taigan and the caves. To the west of Ledo is the futuristic region. To the east of Ledo is the big island Lamella. Below Lamella is the small island region of Naeda, while the water region is to the east of that. South of Naeda is Hapit and its volcanoes. To the west of Hapit is the Egypt region. From Egypt, the African region is kind of northwest. Also from Egypt, South America is pretty much directly west. Further west from that is the Aztec and Inca. If I continue to include them, if they get combined, it'll be a different region. Really gotta figure out these names. Finally, north of Aztec and Inca and almost directly beneath the Flying Kingdom is Chagari. Now, some of you may notice that I neglected to mention one region simply known as Villains. This region is difficult to mention / talk about because it is directly related to my unnamed novel, affectionately called Fantasy Novel, the inspiration to overhaul all of my stories. And potentially another story that's just an idea right now. It is a region that specifically houses the antagonist for Fantasy Novel, but it is not a bad region, it is just a region with a bad leader. Additionally, I don't really have a timeline for how this region will interact with the rest of my stories, and it doesn't have any real-world inspiration as I don't want to paint any region / culture as the bad guy. Any resemblance to any real-world place is just coincidence unless stated otherwise. But with that, I think that's all I have to share with you today. Another yap session complete. I hope you enjoyed learning about my little fantasy world, Apira. As always, all my links are located in the description below, and if you like this video, please consider looking at some of my other videos. Bye!